Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Monday, the 17th of November. Prime Minister Narendra Modi impresses Indian diaspora during Sydney address. No security vacuum after NATO troops withdrawal in Afghanistan, says Abdullah Abdullah. And WHO terms Pakistan as only country spreading polio virus globally. And now for all the details, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday promised the Indian diaspora across the world that his government is working to create the India of their dreams. He was addressing the expat community in Australia.
The Indian Prime Minister reached New South Wales on Monday as part of the second leg of his Australian tour. He was received in a grand manner at the Sydney airport. Prime Minister Modi was welcomed by the Indian community in an exuberant fashion at the Alphonse Arena. The glittering event was a mix of traditional Indian and Australian Aboriginal performances. Addressing an audience of nearly 16,000, the Prime Minister recalled the long-standing ties between India and Australia and the exchange of shared values between the two communities. Modi said time has come for India to come forward globally.
मुझे कोई कारण नहीं लगता है भाइयों बहनों, कोई कारण मुझे नहीं लगता है कि हमारा देश अब पीछे रह जाए. मुझे कोई कारण नहीं. नियति ने उसका आगे जाना तय कर लिया है.
Former Australian pace bowler Brett Lee was also present to greet the Indian Premier. Prime Minister Modi also referred to the love for cricket that binds the two nations.
न ऑस्ट्रेलिया न इंडिया क्रिकेट के बिना जी सकते हैं. क्रिकेट ने हमें जोड़ा है, लेकिन उससे पहले हमारी ऐसी सांस्कृतिक विरासत रही है, इतिहास की ऐसी घटनाएं रही है जिसने हमें अटूट रूप से जोड़ा हुआ है.
Modi reached Sydney from Brisbane after attending the G20 summit. Addressing the leaders of the top 20 economies in the world, Prime Minister Modi emphasized on the need for a cooperative global effort to tackle the issue of unaccounted money. The Indian Premier, who is on a 5-day visit to Australia, had a number of bilateral engagements too. He met German Chancellor Angela Merkel and Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Salman Abdulaziz on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Later addressing a business gathering hosted by Queensland Premier Campbell Newman, Modi called for Australian companies to invest in the country's mining sector as part of his recently announced ambitious Make in India campaign. Prime Minister Modi, who left for Canberra later in the day, will also visit Melbourne as part of his tour. He will visit Fiji on Wednesday before concluding his 10-day three-nation tour.
Afghanistan's Chief Executive Officer Abdullah Abdullah has assured that the NATO troops' withdrawal will not leave a security vacuum in the country. This comes after lawmaker Shukriya Barakzai survived a Taliban attack on Sunday.
Abdullah Abdullah reiterated that the capabilities of the Afghan National Security Forces were only growing. The CEO of the newly formed government in Afghanistan said that the ambitions of militant groups, majorly the Afghan Taliban, to topple the administration will never turn into reality. Abdullah's remarks came on the day when renowned lawmaker Shukriya Barakzai survived a suicide attack with minor wounds in capital Kabul. The bomb blast targeting the vehicle she was travelling in, however, killed 3 civilian bystanders.
امروز می‌خواستم برم به طرف دانشگاه حدوداً 150 متر فاصله داشتم که یک صدای انفجار بسیار وحشتناکی به وقوع پیوست و موتر را جابجا استاد کردم. دیدم که دود است و توته‌های آیین و این طرفا باد میشه صدای شیشه. آمدم پس برگشت موتر استاد کردم. دیدم که اینجا یک حمله انتحاری بالای خانم شکریه بارکزای وکیل کابل در مجلس صورت گرفته.
Barakzai has been an outspoken women's rights advocate and a close ally of the new president Ashraf Ghani. She also ran a secret school for girls during the Taliban's 5-year regime. Sunday's bombing is the latest in the string of attacks on members of the US-backed Afghan government. The NATO-led international coalition forces, which ousted the Taliban rule in 2001, are withdrawing from the country after its longest mission of 13 years. The Taliban on its side is making steady progress in seizing control of the provinces being vacated by the withdrawing forces. Though the US Marines have formally ended their mission, around 12,000 military personnel, mostly Americans, will stay in the country.
The Pakistan Army has claimed to have killed 37 more militants as part of its ongoing anti-Taliban offensive. The Operation Zarb-e-Azb, which entered its 6th month on Monday, has left over 1,200 insurgents dead so far, Army reports say. Making substantial advancements against the Taliban in Pakistan's restive North Waziristan, the army-led security forces have reduced the militia's ability to carry out serious attacks in the region, senior officers have claimed. The army began the operation to eliminate terror outfits from Pakistan's lawless tribal areas in June. The crackdown has, however, also left nearly 90,000 tribesmen stranded as army jets pounded their homes in an effort to clear the Taliban strongholds. The IDPs who migrated to nearby provinces have threatened to protest in capital Islamabad if they were not rehabilitated soon. Bangladesh government is determined to execute the verdicts of the war crimes convicts, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has said. She promised that the ongoing trials will continue until all accused are punished.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina reiterated her government's commitment to ensure justice to the victims of the 1971 civil war. She spoke while addressing a meeting of her party, the Awami League's youth wing, the Jubo League, in capital Dhaka over the weekend. The relatives of the Liberation War victims have the right to get justice, Prime Minister Hasina said.
যারা আপনজন হারিয়েছে, যারা স্বজন হারাবার বেদনা নিয়ে এখনো অপেক্ষা করে আছে, তাদের এটা তাদের চাহিদা, তাদের দাবি, তারা ন্যায় বিচার চায়। যারা স্বজন হারিয়েছে, এটা তাদের মানবাধিকার, তাদের অধিকার রক্ষা করতে হবে, অপরাধীর না।
The Premier also criticized former Prime Minister and Bangladesh Nationalist Party Supremo Begum Khalida Zia for supporting the convicted war criminals.
অর্থাৎ বিএনপি নেত্রী ক্ষমতায় এসে ওই আলবদর বাহিনীর প্রধান, রাজাকার বাহিনীর প্রধান এদেরকেও মন্ত্রী বানায়। আজকে তারা যুদ্ধাপরাধী হিসেবে সাজাপ্রাপ্ত। কি জবাব দেবে বিএনপি নেত্রী? তার জনসভায় দেখেন এদের মুক্তি চেয়ে সেখানে প্ল্যাকার্ড এবং স্লোগান হয়। তাহলে উনি কাদের সাথে আছেন? উনি কি বাংলাদেশের স্বাধীনতার পক্ষে না ওই আলবদর রাজাকারদের পক্ষে? এটা তো স্পষ্ট হয়ে যায় তার জনসভার চেহারা দেখলে যে সেখানে ওই যুদ্ধ অপরাধী যাদের সাজাপ্রাপ্ত তাদের মুক্তির দাবি করা হয়।
The International War Crimes Tribunal or ICT, which was formed by the Hasina government in 2010, was the fulfillment of the demand of freedom fighters for nearly 4 decades. The ICT has so far convicted nearly a dozen colluders of Pakistan Army who were accused of committing crimes against humanity during the country's freedom struggle. This month alone, the ICT pronounced death sentences to top leaders of the Jamaat-e-Islami, including Motiur Rahman Nizami and Mohammad Kamaruzzaman. BNP leader Zahid Hussain, who is believed to be living in Sweden, was also convicted to death in absentia for his involvement in war crimes.
Pakistan is the only country responsible for spreading polio virus globally, the World Health Organization or WHO has declared in its recent report. Pakistan is also facing extended travel restrictions in the wake of the escalating disease.
An official statement issued by the World Body said Pakistan is the only major exporter of the crippling disease globally. The recent report held Pakistan responsible for transmitting the wild type 1 polio virus to the rest of the world. Ever since July, 3 new cases of polio have risen in Afghanistan, for which the International Health Committee attributes to Pakistan. The Regulation Board of WHO also extended travel restrictions imposed on Pakistan for further 3 months. It recommended polio certificates for Pakistanis wanting to fly abroad and warned other countries to ban entry for those who do not carry the required certificate. The WHO also warned of more sanctions on Pakistan if the country fails to implement an effective mechanism to control the outbreak in the coming months. At least 244 new polio cases have been registered so far this year in Pakistan, mostly from its tribal areas. The Taliban, which is against the immunization, has regularly targeted vaccination booths and workers, blaming the anti-polio drive a Western plot to sterilize Muslims.
Pakistan has said it will extend its support to bring the Afghan Taliban to the negotiation table in an effort to establish peace in Afghanistan. The two nations also agreed to strengthen bilateral cooperation during the recently concluded visit of Afghan President Ashraf Ghani to Pakistan.
Afghan President Ashraf Ghani said his government wants to begin relations with neighbouring Pakistan afresh. President Ghani, who was in Islamabad for a two-day visit, met Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif over the weekend. Both leaders said time has come for a new beginning for better interest of the two countries.
We also discussed that we must overcome the past. We will not permit the past to destroy the future. Because of it, we've begun a comprehensive dialogue on security so that all dimensions of our mutual security can be discussed, can be delineated, benchmarked.
Prime Minister Sharif said the two countries can together fight terrorism, their common enemy.
Our two countries face formidable challenges, including extremism and terrorism, a precarious security environment, and transnational crimes. I am convinced that we can effectively meet them through common resolve and common endeavors.
President Ghani's intention to have better ties with Pakistan is seen as a clear shift from his predecessor Hamid Karzai, under whom the two countries had a troubled relationship. Karzai had long accused Islamabad of harboring militant groups including the Taliban and the Haqqani network responsible for planting terror attacks in Afghanistan.
Their heartthrobs in their own space, but when paired together, they make the screen a bigger canvas. Take a look at what's up their sleeves next.
मेरा ब्याह होने वाला था और कोई वाहियात सा आदमी आपकी होने वाली बहू को उठा के ले गया.
They are young, they are the current sensations, and they are one of the biggest star kids on the block. And after being part of several recent hits, actors Arjun Kapoor and Sonakshi Sinha team up for the first time to give their best to their fans with their upcoming Tevar.
अबे मुझे थोड़ी ना पता था कौन है वो. उसे घसीट के लेके जा रहा था. मैंने चिपका दिया.
One of the most awaited films had a glittering first look launch in entertainment capital Mumbai recently. Co-actor Manoj Bajpayee, producer Bonnie Kapoor and director Amit Sharma also joined in. Arjun, who dons the role of a kabaddi player, took to the unconventional promotion by getting into some game tactics. He said working with his father Bonnie was a special experience.
This one is more special, but I would like to say one thing. My family never interfered in my process as an actor. ऐसा कभी नहीं था कि उन्होंने आके नोक झोंक किया, कहा तुम्हें कैरेक्टर ऐसे प्ले करना चाहिए या ये तुम बेटर कर सकते हो. They allowed me to still be professional.
Sinha said her character was different than what she had done so far.
अलग तरीके से लिखा गया है, अलग सिचुएशन में है, अलग जगह पे है, तो बहुत चीजें अलग है.
गजेंद्र सिंह, माथुरे का गुंडा.
Tevar is a remake of the 2003 Telugu film Okadu.
सबका one and only दामाद.
It is based on the journey of a kabaddi champion, Pintu, who helps Radhika to flee from the clutches of faction leader Vijender Singh. Pintu finds himself caught in his love for Radhika and the fight against Vijender, who wants to shatter his sports career. The film is scheduled to open early next year.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi impresses Indian diaspora during Sydney address. No security vacuum after NATO troops withdrawal in Afghanistan, says Abdullah Abdullah. And WHO terms Pakistan as only country spreading polio virus globally.